the Buffalo Bills are ready to drop over $13 million a year on Khalil Shakir, why is James Cook still waiting for his extension? That's the question a lot of fans are asking. And let's be honest, at first glance, it doesn't make much sense. You see the stats, Shakir with a little over 800 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns. And then you compare that with Cook, who had over 1,200 yards and 18 touchdowns. On paper, Cook looks like the more dominant playmaker. So, if Shakir is getting paid, why not Cook? Is it favoritism? Is it bad cap management? Or is there more to this than meets the eye? Let's unpack this. The first thing you have to understand is that wide receivers and running backs operate in completely different financial ecosystems. It's not just a matter of comparing yards and touchdowns. It's about how the NFL values those yards based on the position they come from. And right now, the league is sending a clear message. Wide receivers are gold, running backs are bronze at best. Look at the numbers. The top-paid receiver in the NFL is pulling in over $40 million a year. Meanwhile, the highest-paid running back isn't even cracking 20. In fact, you've got 21 receivers making more than the top running back in the league. That's the gap. So when Khalil Shakir signs a deal worth a little over $13 million a season, that doesn't even put him in the top 25 at his position. That makes him number 27 on the list of highest-paid receivers. It's a solid deal, team-friendly even, but not a blockbuster. Now, let's flip it to James Cook. If the Bills handed him $15 million per season, that would shoot him straight into the top 3 among running backs. He'd be right up there with Derrick Henry and just behind Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley. And here's the million-dollar question. Is James Cook that guy? Because that's really what this comes down to. You're not just paying him for what he did last year. You're projecting what he's going to be over the next 3, maybe 4 years. And while Cook is dynamic, while he's absolutely carved out a major role in this offense, is he a foundational piece? Is he irreplaceable? The kind of player that, if you lost him, your offense falls apart? For some fans, the answer might be yes. But for the Bills front office, the answer is a bit more complicated, because they've seen what the offense looks like with and without these players. Let's go back to that game against the Jets. No James Cook, and the run game didn't miss a beat. But remember that Houston game? The one without Khalil Shakir? That was a disaster. Josh Allen played one of the worst games of his career since he became an elite quarterback. Even in the Baltimore game, when Shakir tried to gut it out, the offense just didn't look the same. That tells you something about who the Bills think are their core guys. And this isn't about who's the better player. It's about positional value and leverage. The Bills know that wide receivers are harder to replace. They stretch the field. They dictate coverage. They open up everything else for your offense. Running backs, as brutal as it sounds, they're more plug-and-play. You can find production on a cheaper contract, and the league knows it. That's why you see teams letting Pro Bowl-level backs walk in free agency while overpaying for the second or third option at receiver. And speaking of leverage, let's talk about James Cook's hold-in, because that's a whole new wrinkle in the modern NFL. For years, when players were unhappy with their contracts, they'd hold out, skip practices, skip training camp, and eat the fines. But now, players show up. They're in the building. They're on the field. But they're not practicing. It's a passive-aggressive power play that lets them apply pressure without getting hit in the wallet. But here's the thing. James Cook doesn't really have a ton of leverage here. He's still on his rookie deal. He's not in a position to skip regular season games without losing serious money. And he knows that. That's why this hold-in is happening now, during the preseason. The Bills have a game this weekend. Cook wants to create some urgency, force the team's hand a little bit. But do the Bills look like they're blinking? Not really. They've got the leverage, they've got options, and unless Cook is willing to take a team-friendly deal, something closer to $10 or $11 million a year, it's hard to see them budging. Now, let's pivot to another reason the Cook deal is complicated: consistency. If we're being honest, James Cook is electric, but he's not exactly consistent. He has flashes where he looks like a top 5 back in the league. He'll break off a 60-yard run, turn a swing pass into a 20-yard gain, hit the edge, and explode. But there are also games where he just disappears. Games where he struggles in pass protection. Games where he puts the ball on the ground. That volatility makes it hard to commit premium dollars long-term. That brings us back to the big picture. This isn't a team with endless cap space. The Bills are trying to walk a tightrope between maximizing their current window and planning for what comes next. They just paid their quarterback. They've invested heavily on defense. They're trying to reset the offense around younger, more dynamic players. And that means making tough decisions. They looked at Khalil Shakir and saw a player who's ascending. A guy who's trusted by Josh Allen, who runs clean routes, blocks, contributes on special teams, and maybe most importantly, stays healthy. He fits the long-term vision. So they paid him. $13 million a year for a young wide receiver is a value. James Cook, he's explosive. He's important. But the position he plays and the current market trends say that $15 million a year isn't just a stretch. It's almost impossible to justify. The Bills might want to keep him around. They might even want to reward him, but not at that number. And if Cook and his camp are firm on that price tag, this situation could get tense real fast. Now, let's not forget what happened the last time the Bills tried to pay big money to a running back. It doesn't happen. It's not how they operate. Not under Brandon Beane. Not in this front office. They'll draft a back. They'll use mid-round picks. They'll rotate guys. But they will not break the bank unless they're convinced they're paying for a game changer. And whether Bills fans like it or not, the front office doesn't see James Cook that way. Not yet. Meanwhile, this hold-in situation isn't just about money. It's about timing. It's about messaging. It's about trying to send a signal without creating outright drama. But let's not pretend it doesn't affect the team. The Bills are entering a season with real expectations. New pieces on offense. New look on defense. And the last thing they need is contract drama lingering in the background. Especially not when they're trying to build momentum in the preseason. But hey, that's the modern NFL. Teams want flexibility. Players want security. The middle ground is shrinking, and situations like James Cook's are becoming more and more common. You got guys putting up huge numbers, playing key roles, but still being told they don't quite move the needle enough to get top-tier money. That's tough to swallow, especially when a guy like Shakir is getting his bag. But again, it comes back to one truth. You pay by position, not just production. And the running back market is cold. Like ice cold. So yeah, the Shakir deal might sting for James Cook. It might feel like a slap in the face. But the numbers, the positions, the trends, they all say the same thing. It's not personal. It's business. And right now, business isn't booming for NFL running backs. Let's shift the focus now to another big piece of this Buffalo Bills puzzle, Keon Coleman. Because while all the noise has been around contracts and hold-ins, there's a much bigger storyline brewing out in training camp. And that's the rise, or at least the potential rise, of the Bills' newest wide receiver. Now, if you've been following this team closely, you know that Coleman is one of the most talked-about rookies on the roster. Big frame, strong hands, highlight reel plays. He was drafted to bring a physical element to the Bills' receiving core that's been missing for a while. This wasn't just a luxury pick. This was a response. A response to losing Stephon Diggs. A response to the changing shape of the offense. And a response to what Josh Allen himself wanted in a number one target. Because make no mistake, Allen wanted Keon Coleman. He was pounding the table. And when your franchise quarterback speaks, you listen. That's exactly what the front office did. But let's be clear, drafting Coleman wasn't about replacing Diggs snap for snap, route for route. It was about reshaping the identity of this passing attack. And that's where things get interesting. See, when you go back and look at Coleman's tape in college, you'll see two things. First, he's got the best highlight reel of any receiver in this draft class. Jump balls, contested catches, toe taps on the sideline. He looks like a video game. But the second thing you notice is the inconsistency. There are games where he disappears, routes where he doesn't separate, reps where he looks like a totally different player. And that variance is exactly what made some teams hesitate. Coleman isn't your classic polished technician. He's not running routes like Calvin Ridley or Keenan Allen. He's not going to create 3 yards of separation on every play. He wins differently. And when you win differently, you also live and die by that difference. That means higher highs, lower lows. And it means Josh Allen has to be on the same page with him because the margin for error is smaller. You're throwing into traffic. You're trusting him to box out corners. You're trusting him to time his jumps and secure the ball through contact. And that's not easy, not even for a quarterback as elite as Allen. But here's where you get excited if you're a Bills fan: growth. Because everything coming out of camp suggests that Coleman is developing. Not just physically, he's always been a physical freak, but mentally. He's learning how to find space and zone. He's reading coverages better. He started to understand how to use his body to gain leverage, even if he's not the fastest or most sudden guy on the field. That's huge, because raw talent can take you only so far. And while Coleman might never be a route-running savant, if he can become just a little more consistent, a little more polished, a little more in sync with his quarterback, then suddenly you've got a problem for defenses. A big one. And let's not forget the opportunity he has in front of him. This is not a crowded wide receiver room. Yes, Khalil Shakir is steady. Yes, Curtis Samuel brings speed and versatility. But there is room here for someone to step into a real volume role. And if Coleman earns the trust of the coaching staff, and more importantly, of Josh Allen, he could end up leading this team in targets by the end of the year. Of course, it won't be handed to him. He's got to clean up his timing. He's got to learn how to handle press coverage in the NFL. He's got to be sharp in his adjustments and disciplined in his alignments. But if you're looking for upside, Keon Coleman has more of it than anyone else in this receiver group. And that's why his development is going to be one of the biggest stories of the season. Maybe the biggest story, depending on how things shake out. But there's another angle to this that's worth exploring. The Bills didn't just draft Coleman to catch passes. They drafted him to help shape a new version of their offense. One that's less predictable, more flexible, and harder to game plan for. The Bills don't want to be just Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs anymore. They want to spread the ball around. They want size on the outside, speed in the slot, mismatches in motion. And that means Coleman isn't just competing for targets. He's part of a strategic shift. And when you look at the way the Bills have built the rest of this offense, you start to see the plan come into focus. You've got Dalton Kincaid, a tight end with wide receiver traits. You've got Shakir, who can win from the slot or outside. You've got Samuel, who could be used all over the field. And now you've got Coleman, who brings physicality and contested catchability on the boundary. It's a chessboard. Every piece has a purpose. Every matchup is being calculated. But here's where it all comes back to the quarterback. Because as much as the Bills want to reinvent this offense, it only works if Josh Allen buys in and plays smart. And that's a conversation we've been having for years now. The talent is undeniable. The ceiling is MVP caliber. But there are still moments where he tries to do too much. Still throws into double coverage. Still takes unnecessary hits. If Allen could take another step in his decision-making, in his ability to run the offense efficiently, then this new-look unit with Coleman at the X could be dangerous. Before we dive back in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest Buffalo Bills updates straight to your screen. And hey, don't hold back. Let us know your thoughts on today's news down in the comments. In a move that has sent shockwaves through the American football world, the Buffalo Bills made headlines this week by signing Australian-born kicker Sam FICKEN, formerly with the Detroit Lions. The unexpected acquisition not only caught fans and analysts off guard, but also signaled a bold and strategic pivot for the Bills' special teams. Known for his reliable leg and unshakable composure under pressure, FICKEN is the first high-profile Australian kicker to switch franchises in such a dramatic fashion during the preseason. Buffalo, a franchise with a storied yet turbulent kicking history, seems determined to anchor its special teams with consistency and international flair. FICKEN, whose performances in Detroit included clutch field goals and a perfect extra point record last season, brings much-needed stability and international attention to the Bills roster. While many teams have looked domestically to fill their special teams needs, Buffalo's move to target FICKEN speaks volumes about the globalization of the NFL and the growing presence of Australian talent. The announcement came via an official statement early Monday morning, with General Manager Brandon Beane highlighting FICKEN's elite preparation, strong mental game, and dedication to performance, asserting that the kicker will bring a competitive edge to a team with Super Bowl aspirations. The Bills' decision to pursue Sam FICKEN didn't come lightly, especially considering the competitive nature of the NFL's offseason. According to sources close to the organization, Buffalo's special teams coaches have been tracking Ficken since his days with the New York Jets, where he initially made a name for himself with back-to-back game-winning kicks. After his tenure in Detroit, where he posted a career-best 89.7% success rate in field goals, Ficken became a free agent with increasing buzz around his name. Yet few expected the Bills to be the ones to act so decisively. This is particularly intriguing considering Buffalo's historical reliance on American kickers, and it suggests a broader cultural shift within the team's approach to scouting and talent acquisition. While there have been rumors of a shakeup in the Bills' special teams unit, few predicted such an international flair would be added. Critics have pointed to the challenges of consistency in kicking, and the transition between stadiums and coaching staffs can often disrupt performance. However, Ficken's professionalism and resilience suggest he may thrive under the new pressure, especially given Buffalo's demanding fan base and the harsh winter conditions of Highmark Stadium, notorious for testing even the most seasoned veterans. Sam Ficken's journey to the NFL is nothing short of remarkable, a tale that has now added another unexpected chapter. Born in Australia, Ficken moved to the United States to pursue a college football career at Penn State, where he initially struggled before emerging as one of the program's most consistent special teams weapons. His early years in the league saw him bouncing between teams, including brief stints with the Kansas City Chiefs and Los Angeles Rams, before finding some footing with the Jets and finally the Lions. Known for his mental toughness, Ficken developed a reputation for being unflappable in high-pressure moments, a rare and valuable trait for a kicker. His Australian background brings a unique flair and work ethic that have earned him admiration not only from teammates, but also from coaches across the league. In interviews, Ficken has often emphasized the importance of preparation, discipline, and adapting to diverse game conditions, attributes that will serve him well in Buffalo. His signing has sparked a renewed interest in the role of international players in the NFL, especially from regions not typically associated with American football. If successful, Ficken could pave the way for more Australians to enter the league and contribute at the highest level. Buffalo's fan base, known for its loyalty and football IQ, has responded with a mix of surprise and cautious optimism to the signing of Sam Ficken. Social media lit up with reactions from both Bills and Lions supporters, many of whom praised Ficken's reliability and expressed curiosity about how he would adapt to Buffalo's system. Analysts have pointed out that this could be one of the most critical signings for Buffalo's upcoming season, especially in close games where a dependable kicker can be the difference between playoff contention and disappointment. Ficken's statistics, which include an impressive record in outdoor stadiums, particularly in cold weather, align well with the environmental challenges he will face in Buffalo. Additionally, his ability to execute kickoffs with precision adds another dimension to the Bills' special team strategy. Head coach Sean McDermott has already expressed enthusiasm about integrating Ficken into the squad, citing his work ethic and experience as key differentiators. While many acquisitions go unnoticed until the regular season, this one has already sparked conversation, not just for its implications on the field, but also for its cultural and symbolic significance. The move highlights Buffalo's willingness to innovate and explore global talent pools to gain a competitive advantage. As training camp unfolds and the preseason begins, all eyes will be on Sam Ficken as he adapts to his new surroundings in Buffalo. The expectations are high, but so is the excitement. With a roster that has steadily improved over the past few seasons, the Bills are positioned as legitimate contenders in the AFC. Adding a veteran kicker with proven success under pressure only strengthens their campaign. Ficken will be tasked with more than just field goals. He'll be a stabilizing force on a team that has at times struggled with special teams execution. If he performs as expected, Ficken could quickly become a fan favorite and a household name in Buffalo. More importantly, his presence may inspire further international interest in the NFL, especially from Australia, where American football has gained traction in recent years. The Bills' bold acquisition of Ficken serves as a reminder that talent knows no borders and that the NFL is increasingly a global league. In a sport often defined by inches and moments, the addition of a reliable kicker with international pedigree could be just what Buffalo needs to push them over the edge. Time will tell, but for now, the city of Buffalo watches with hopeful anticipation. That's a wrap for now. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay on top of all things Buffalo Bills, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what you think in the comments. See you in the next update.